Okay, so this is 10.3, arcs and chords. So the first theorem states that if the line segment or the chords are congruent, then the arcs are also congruent. So, because I see that my chords are both 13, I know that my arc, since the top one is 79, the bottom one is also going to be 79 degrees. For number 2, it's using the same theorem. So I see first that my chord is congruent. My chords are equal. That means that my arcs are going to be equal. And so just because there are expressions doesn't mean it's going to change anything. That means I'm going to write x plus 17 is equal to 4x plus 2. And then you just solve this. And we're going to solve this by distributing, combining like terms, and moving our variables to one side. So again, that's what D, C, and B stands for, distribute. There's nothing to distribute. Combine like terms. If I look on one side of the equation or another, there's no combining like terms, but I do have a variable that I need to move to one side. So negative 4x, negative 3x plus 17 is equal to 2 minus 17. Negative 3x is equal to negative 15. Divide by negative 3. X is equal to 5. Number 3. So, conversely, if the chords are equal, then so are the arcs. So here, it's showing that the arcs are equal. That means the chords are also congruent. That means I can write the equation 2x minus 12 is equal to 36. That's the equation I'm going to use. X is 24. On number 4, on 10.2 instruction, there were two circles that we had drawn. There were two circles that said, one of them had the vertex in the center, the other one had the vertex on the side. Now, with the vertex in the center, that meant that the measure of the angle was equal to the measure of the arc. If it's here, then you would have to divide it. But that doesn't really help us at all. So a couple of the students tried to use this theory, but it doesn't help us. Because what I'm really looking at, so 38 is just this section. If I get rid of that, then that gives me two chords that are congruent. And that gives me two arcs that make up the two different sides. So if I simply just take out this 38 degrees from the entire circle, so if I take 360 and I subtract 38 degrees, that gives us the entire amount. That gives us this entire arc, major arc, which is 322. But X isn't the entire arc, it's only 1/2 of it. So we simply divide it by 2. So it is 161 degrees. The 11s here are simply telling us that these two chords are congruent. And so number 5 is very much like number 4. We take the entire circle and we get rid of the 114. That leaves us with the major arc that is remaining, which is 246 degrees. But we only want this half of it. So we are dividing it by 2, which means it's 123 degrees. Number 6. Okay, so because this chord is congruent to this chord, this arc is congruent to this arc. So RQ, arc RQ, is equal to 67 degrees. Now, if you recall from 10-2, when the vertex is in the center, the measure of the angle, a central angle, so the angle measure for a central angle, must be in the center, it's very important, is equal to the arc length. So because the arc is 67 degrees, the angle measure is also 67 degrees. Now, I had a few students who said, well, I thought that was the radius. Well, it's not the radius because of this little circle that tells us it's degrees. So one thing you need to remember is that the angle measure is equal to the arc length when the center is in the center of the circle. Okay, on this problem, because I see a right angle, that is telling me that it splits both the line and the chord. So it splits the chord and the arc in half. Because it's perpendicular, it splits both the line and the arc in half. Now it says here in the given that the measure of angle AC is 71. So if AC is 71, CB is also 71. And the measure of arc AB is simply going to be 71 plus 71, which equals 142. It also tells me, given information, that AB, and that's line segment because it doesn't have our little angle arc above it, so AB is equal to 60. That means AD is equal to 30, and BD is also equal to 30. Now, how am I going to find YD? So if this AD is 30, I can drop a line from Y to A because it says the radius is 34, and that's our 34 degrees. That means I have a right triangle here that can give me the distance. So I'm going to do A squared plus B squared equals C squared. That is going to be 30 squared plus B squared is equal to 34 squared. And I'm going to subtract. So when I put into a calculator 34 squared minus 30 squared, it is going to be 256. And I always have to remember to do the square root. So b is going to be equal to 16. Now DC, YC is a radius, and it's 34, so a radius minus the little YD, which is 16, is going to figure out the piece that's left over. So the radius is 34 minus our 16, that's going to give us 18. So because these are congruent, these are congruent. So 20 is equal to 5x. So to solve this for x, we're going to divide both sides by 5. X equals 4. So because these are equal, these are equal. So x plus 4 is equal to 2x minus 1. You move your variable to the other side. And you solve. Please make sure that you have finished the back side of the paper for a grade and in preparation for the quiz that is on Thursday.